Welcome to Revenge Report. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let's dive in. I pull up to the vineyard, the sprawling hills of Sonoma stretching out in all directions, like something out of a movie. The guests mingle, all smiles, dressed in their Sunday best. My younger brother Jordan and his fiancée Rachel are perfect, all glowing faces and lovesick grins. I step into the background, as usual, trying not to draw attention. It's their day after all. I can't help but feel a knot tighten in my stomach, though. Not because I'm unhappy for them. I am. I'm glad they found each other. But I've never been great at being around my family in situations like this, and I'm not sure I ever will be. My phone buzzes, pulling me out of my thoughts. It's an encrypted message from the agency. The Montana raid went sideways. 3 suspects are in custody, but one's critical. I'll have to leave for DC in less than 12 hours to debrief a high-risk witness. I try to focus on the couple, their happiness grounding me for a moment. But then, I hear my mom's voice, bright and loud, rising above the others. "Rachel, did Whit ever tell you what she does for a living?" My mom laughs, and it hits me like a slap. I turn, but her eyes are elsewhere, lost in conversation with Rachel's parents. They're all smiling, unaware of the invisible wedge that's always been between us. Scene 2. Just animal control. Mom holding a champagne flute, gestures in my direction. "Whit still catches stray cats for the city, doesn't she? It's so sweet, really." Rachel's dad, some big-shot attorney who wears his money like a suit of armor, raises an eyebrow. "Oh, really?" Mom brushes it off with a laugh. "She's our sweet late bloomer, always has been. Never quite cut out for real school, didn't want to teach like I hoped, just drives around in that county pickup chasing squirrels. Lives alone in some government housing, I think. It's adorable." I bite the inside of my cheek so hard I almost taste blood. I don't even want to fight anymore. She's telling her version of the story. I'm the family joke, the one they never take seriously. I don't fit into their neat little boxes, and I never have. My phone buzzes again. It's my handler. The witness is asking for me specifically. I squeeze my phone tight, shoot a quick message. The Montana raids got 3 in custody, 1 critically injured. My jaw's tight, but I can't let it show. Not here. Scene 3. Unseen and unheard. Growing up, I was always the weird one. My parents, especially my mom, would repeat the same lines at family events. Birthdays, holidays, funerals. Didn't matter. "Oh, Whit works with dogs or something," they'd say, as if that was an answer to everything. I remember one Christmas, my sister Amanda joked, "Catch any raccoons lately, Whit?" I almost laughed. I almost said, "Actually, I just came back from a 2-month undercover op, dismantling an international wildlife smuggling ring." But they wouldn't have cared. They didn't ask, and when I tried to explain, they tuned out. Even Dad, the guy who's supposed to have my back, just called what I did weird government stuff, and I let him. I stopped trying to explain. Scene 4, the ceremony. The music starts, and Rachel walks down the aisle. She's beautiful, her dress catching the light in a way that makes it look like she's glowing. Jordan's eyes shine as he watches her. So proud, so in love. I tear up a little. I'm happy for them. But part of me can't shake the feeling that I'm the odd one out, a ghost in the background. My phone buzzes again. The Montana witness wants me personally. I text my assistant to prep my gear. I'll be gone before the reception even ends. I try to focus on the ceremony. Jordan's saying his vows now, his voice cracking just a little. I'm clapping along with everyone else, but in my mind, I'm already planning my escape. Scene 5. The breaking point. The reception's in full swing. I'm in the receiving line, shaking hands with old family friends. And then a man in a tailored suit steps forward, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Dr. Whit Powell." I freeze. "I'm Special Agent Thorne with Homeland Security." "Glad I caught you. DC needs you now." Mom's head jerks around so fast it's like she's been electrocuted. "Doctor?" Her voice cracks. Rachel's dad looks between Thorne and me, blinking. "Wait, you're that Whit Powell?" Thorne nods, oblivious to the bomb he's just dropped. "She's lead investigator on the Tri-State Smuggling Task Force. Brilliant forensic biologist." The room goes dead silent. Mom stammers. "But you do pest control?" Scene 6. Shattering the illusion Thorne, still clueless, continues. Whit's been coordinating field ops, international busts, and working with federal clearance for years. She's the reason the Montana raid succeeded. I watch my family's reactions. My sister staring at me like she's seeing a stranger, my mom pale and speechless, Rachel's dad now full on impressed. Then Rachel's dad starts asking questions about the task force like he's been following it for years. I can't hold it in anymore. I speak, my voice cutting through the quiet like a knife. I never caught stray cats, Mom. I dismantle black market poaching rings. Scene 7, the fallout. The room freezes, people exchange whispers and sidelong glances. Amanda leans in, whispering, "Why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because nobody ever really wanted to hear it," I say, my voice tight. Dad looks lost. Jordan flicks his eyes between me and Thorn. Half proud, half stunned. I try to explain without going into the details. What I do, why it's always been classified, why I've kept quiet. Mom mutters something under her breath about not understanding why I couldn't just say I had a good job. Scene 8, respect. Finally. Jordan pulls me aside, looking awestruck. "You're seriously the reason those wildlife busts happen." I nod, the weight of it sitting heavy on my chest. "And we've got to debrief a guy linked to a cartel-backed poaching network." Rachel joins us, her face a mixture of surprise and admiration. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" I shrug. OPSEC, and no one asked. Even Rachel's parents are looking at Mom now, their expressions shifting to something more like pity than judgment. Rachel turns to Jordan, eyes wide. "Your sister has a federal badge." Jordan nods slowly. "And a PhD, apparently." Thorn reappears, giving me a nod. "The plane's on standby. It's time." Scene 9. Goodbye. Quietly, I grab my go bag from the coat check. As I walk through the main room, the guests who were once all smiles now nod at me with a different kind of respect. Amanda pulls me aside. "I don't think I ever really saw you, Whit." I give her a small, sad smile. Not many did. It's okay, though. I don't need them to understand. Not anymore. Mom's sitting at a table, her wine untouched, face a mask of confusion and hurt. I lean down close, my voice low. "I protected things you'll never know about. You don't have to understand, but maybe now you'll stop lying about it." Outside, the agent driver holds the door open. Scene 10. Mission first. The SUV takes off down the winding back roads. I review the briefing files on a secure tablet. The witness is stable, but nervous. The mission is on. I'll be in DC by midnight. I think about Jordan and Rachel dancing, about how today's story will grow in family lore. For years, I let their ignorance define how I saw myself, but not anymore. I don't need them to understand everything. I just need to do my job, and I'm damn good at it. The compound lights come into view. It's time to work. Mom laughs, champagne flute in hand, and her voice cuts through the noise of the reception like a bell. "Rachel, did Whit ever tell you what she does for a living?" She chuckles, loud and easy, like it's some kind of joke. "Still catches stray cats for the city, right?" Rachel's dad, the high-powered attorney with his tailored suit and perfectly pressed shirt, raises an eyebrow. "Oh, really?" he asks, clearly unsure whether my mom's pulling his leg. Mom doesn't skip a beat, brushing it off like it's no big deal. "Yeah, that's my Whit, our sweet late bloomer. She never could handle real school, you know. Didn't want to teach like I hoped, just drives around in a county pickup chasing squirrels." She laughs again, her face lit up with that same familiar grin. "Lives alone in some government housing. Cute, right?" I feel my jaw tighten. I want to say something. I really do. But there's a knot in my throat, and I can't find the words. Instead, I reach into my pocket and pull out my phone, tapping out a quick message to my handler. The Montana raid's gone sideways. 3 suspects are in custody, but one's in critical condition. I'll need to head to DC soon. My thumbs move quickly, the tapping noise filling the brief silence between their words, and I try to drown out the sound of my mother's voice, as if it's coming from someone else. I've heard this story 100 times. Every single family event, from Christmas dinners to random backyard BBQs. This is my life. "She works with dogs or something," my mom says. It's easier than admitting what I actually do. Easier than saying I work in federal wildlife enforcement, dismantling international poaching rings. I fight back the heat rising in my chest. For all the years of this, they still think I drive around with a dog crate in the back of my truck, like some kind of animal control officer. They still haven't figured out that what I do is bigger than that. I glance over at Rachel and Jordan. They're smiling, wrapped up in their own little bubble of happiness. Part of me is happy for them, but another part of me feels like I'm suffocating in this room, drowning in the weight of all their assumptions. Mom's still going, oblivious to the storm rolling inside me. She'd never want a real job, though, she says, not noticing that Rachel's father is still watching me, eyebrow raised, like he's waiting for something. Wit just likes her simple life, chasing animals around. It's adorable. I message my handler again, quickly checking the details. My mind's already slipping away from the conversation, from this place. The raid's still fresh in my head. The witness wants me personally. I have less than 12 hours. I'm already mentally packing my bag, going over the logistics in my mind. How will I slip out of here without drawing too much attention? How do I avoid my mother's barrage of questions when I leave? It's funny, isn't it? How they think they know me, but they've never bothered to ask. They've never wanted to know what I do, what I really do. All they see is the image they've built in their heads, and they cling to it like it's the truth. I could be saving the world from an illegal poaching ring or bringing down an international crime syndicate, but none of that matters. To them, I'll always be the weird one, the late bloomer who never quite fit in, the one who catches stray cats for the city. Rachel's father clears his throat, and I snap out of my thoughts, realizing he's waiting for me to respond to my mother. "Sounds interesting," he says, his voice clipped, like he's still trying to figure out whether my mom is being serious. He shifts his weight but doesn't quite take his eyes off me. I feel like I'm under a microscope. "Yeah," Mom chirps, giving him a friendly, dismissive smile. She's never really wanted a real career, you know? Always been more of a loner, I guess. Just her and the animals. The words hit like a slap. I clench my phone tighter, biting down on the frustration building inside me. My family has no idea. They never have. How much longer can I sit here, letting them tell these lies about me? I feel my pulse quicken as I glance at Jordan again, wishing he could somehow understand, or even ask. But he's busy, caught up in his new life, his new family. I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to hear about my own weird government stuff either. I manage a tight smile, nodding along as my mom continues to explain my quirky lifestyle. The air feels thick like I'm trapped inside a glass jar. I just want to leave, but I can't. Not yet. The buzzing of my phone pulls me back into reality. Another message from my handler. The Montana raid is progressing, but I'll need to leave sooner than I thought. I slip my phone back into my pocket, trying to focus on the conversation again, but all I can hear now is the sound of my own blood rushing in my ears. The laughter from the group around me feels muffled now, distant, like I'm watching it all through a fogged window. I can't stop hearing my mom's voice in my head, that same story she's told 1,000 times. She works with dogs or something. That phrase, or something, gets under my skin every single time. They never bother to ask the real question. They never want to know what I actually do. It's always just enough to assume, to simplify me into something small and neat. They can't imagine that I've spent years in the shadows, gathering intel, tracking criminals, busting rings worth millions of dollars. No, I'm just the weird one, the girl who can't fit into their tidy, perfect lives. I think back to all the family events, the ones where it was the same damn thing. Birthdays, holidays, funerals, didn't matter. Every time, it was the same line. She works with dogs or something. At Christmas last year, Amanda, always the first one to make a joke, always the one who thinks she's being funny, smirked and asked, "Hey, Wit, catch any raccoons lately?" I remember how the words stuck in my throat, how I wanted to scream at her, tell her what I'd really been doing. I wanted to tell her about the 2 months I spent undercover in some dingy warehouse, working alongside federal agents to dismantle a wildlife smuggling network that spanned multiple countries. I wanted to say, "I didn't catch raccoons, Amanda. I brought down an international cartel," but instead I just smiled because no one ever really listens. Even Dad, my dad, the guy who was supposed to get it, always called what I did weird government stuff. He said it like it was nothing, like it didn't matter. It was easier for him to dismiss it than try to understand it, and after a while, it was easier for me to just nod and let him. I had tried years ago to explain. I'd sat them down, even a big family dinner, and said, "I'm not just the girl who drives around with a dog crate in the back of her truck. I'm not some animal control officer. I'm part of an operation that works with international law enforcement to stop wildlife trafficking." I'd gotten through part of it before my mom's eyes glazed over, and Dad cut me off to talk about the next baseball game. That was the last time I tried. I learned that night that they'd never really want to understand what I do. They'd rather tell their own story, one where I'm the girl who plays with dogs and catches squirrels, and everyone can laugh about it. It's easier for them to keep me small, to keep me in that box, where I don't challenge them, where I don't do something important. If they keep me in the background, I'm not a threat, not to their picture-perfect world. I shake my head slightly, trying to get rid of the images from that Christmas dinner, but they're still there. Mom laughing as she told everyone I couldn't handle real school, and that I never wanted to teach like she'd hoped. It stung, but what hurt more was the silence that followed. No one cared enough to ask why I didn't go to college right after high school. They didn't know that I'd been on my own for years, scrapping by, learning my craft, pushing myself past every obstacle. No one cared to ask why I didn't follow her plan. It was easier to keep pretending that I was just the screw-up who couldn't figure things out. And maybe that's why I stopped trying to explain. I stopped trying to fit myself into the neat little box they'd built for me, because it wasn't just my story anymore. It was their version of me, and it was always the same. Always simple, always easy to swallow. And now, here I am, stuck in the same damn place. My mom's still telling her version of me, with no clue how wrong she is. They all think I'm just a small-town girl with a big heart and a knack for catching stray animals. They don't know the truth. But I've given up trying to make them see it. Rachel walks down the aisle, her dress flowing behind her like a wave of white silk, her face lit up with that kind of joy you can't fake. Jordan's eyes are locked on her, like she's the only thing in the world. He's holding it together, but just barely. His hands are shaking as he grips the front of his suit, his lips pressed tight, fighting back tears. For a second, I get choked up too. Maybe it's because I've never seen him like this, or maybe it's because I've spent too much time in the shadows and forgot what it feels like to be seen. Really seen. But whatever it is, my eyes sting for a second. I wipe them quickly, trying to pass it off as the sunlight coming through the stained glass. My phone buzzes again, and I pull it from my pocket, barely glancing at the screen. It's from my assistant. The Montana witness is requesting me personally. I curse under my breath. I text back, telling her to prep the gear, double-check the flight. I'll be out of here as soon as I can slip away without making a scene. I slip the phone back into my pocket, trying to push away the growing knot in my stomach. This should be the moment for my brother and Rachel, but my head is already somewhere else, calculating timelines, figuring out when I can make a clean exit. I have less than 12 hours to get to DC and debrief the witness. I take a breath and force myself to focus on the ceremony. Jordan's voice cracks slightly as he says his vows, and Mom beams in the front row, eyes glassy with pride. She's a picture of joy, the way she always wanted to look at me, but only when it was convenient. I watch the exchange, my hands clasped in my lap, clapping when it's time, trying not to be the one to ruin the moment. It's not my moment. Not today. I stay near the back pew, my mind already racing. The ceremony is beautiful, but it's not mine to be a part of. Rachel and Jordan's life is unfolding right in front of me, and I'm just a spectator. I've always been a spectator. I mentally run through the logistics. I'll slip out before the reception, grab my go bag from the coat check, and take the back exit. I need to avoid drawing attention, avoid any questions, especially from Mom. She'll start with the worried looks, the "where are you going" wit. And I can't deal with it today, not with everything that's hanging over my head. I glance over at the front row. My mom's still glowing, her eyes glued to Jordan and Rachel. For once, she's proud of him, and I'm just a bystander in her eyes. That's how it's always been. She wanted me to be like them, perfect, shiny, successful, but instead, I became the black sheep, the one who couldn't follow the script. Rachel and Jordan exchange vows, and the words hit me harder than I expect. "I will always choose you," Jordan says, his voice steady, full of conviction. Rachel smiles at him, nodding, and I can't help but feel a small pang in my chest. Maybe it's the way he looks at her, with everything with his whole heart. And I wonder for a split second if I'll ever have that. Someone who chooses me the way Jordan has chosen Rachel. I shake my head, pushing the thought aside. That's not my life, not today anyway. The ceremony moves on, but I'm already calculating how much time I have before I need to leave. I shift in my seat, still clapping, trying to blend in, but all I can hear is the steady beat of my heart reminding me that the clock is ticking. The mission comes first, as it always does. The reception is in full swing, and I'm making my way through the receiving line, shaking hands with people I haven't seen in years. There's a weird familiarity in it, the kind of forced politeness that's almost comforting. Mom's still standing near the front, glowing with pride, talking to Rachel's parents, and Jordan's grinning beside her like he's just won the lottery. I try not to look too out of place, nodding and smiling as I move down the line. Then, just as I think I might make it through without anyone noticing I'm not really part of this world, a man in a tailored suit steps forward. Doctor, Whit Powell. I freeze. I didn't even have time to process the words before he says them loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. Glad I caught you. DC needs you now. I can feel Mom's head jerk around like she's been whiplashed, her eyes widening. Her voice cracks a little when she says, Doctor. Rachel's dad, the high-profile lawyer who never misses a chance to put his money and connections on display, does a double take, his brows furrowing in disbelief. Wait, you're that Whit Powell? Thorne nods, completely unaware of the bomb he's just dropped. She's lead investigator on the Tri-State Smuggling Task Force. Brilliant forensic biologist. He gives me a polite smile, but his eyes are on the job. The moment the words leave his mouth, the room goes quiet. All around us, conversations die. The clinking of champagne flutes stops, and the murmurs fade into an uncomfortable silence. For a split second, I think I'm going to choke on the air, the weight of it all settling on my chest like a boulder. Mom's mouth opens and closes, like she's trying to say something, but no sound comes out. Her lips tremble, and her eyes bounce between Thorne and me, like she's trying to process what's happening. But, you do pest control, she stammers, her voice almost pleading. It's the same lie she's told everyone for years. Thorne looks confused for a moment, like he's not sure what she means. No, ma'am. It's not just pest control. His words hang in the air, and I can feel the weight of them pressing down on me. I stand there, feeling exposed, caught between two worlds. On one side, my family, my mother, who has never truly understood me, always boxed me into something simpler, something easier for her to explain to people. And on the other, Thorne, the man who just stripped me bare with the truth that's never fit into the tidy little version of me that my mom has spun for years. Mom's face flushes a pale shade of red, her expression a mix of confusion and shame. I can see the moment it clicks in her head. She's never wanted to admit it, not to herself, not to anyone. But now, standing in front of all these people, it's all too real. I'm not just the girl who drives around with a dog crate in the back of a truck. I'm not just some local who works with dogs. Thorne turns to me, and for a second, I almost wish he hadn't said anything. The silence in the room is deafening, and I can feel all their eyes on me now, like I'm some kind of spectacle. I can almost hear Rachel's dad's mind clicking into gear as he looks between me and Thorne. So, this whole time, you've been, what? Part of a federal task force. His voice is smooth, calculated. He's processing it all. His curiosity peaked now that he knows there's something bigger than the story my mom's been telling. Thorne's oblivious to the tension. Whit's been handling field operations, international coordination, and working with federal clearance for years. She's one of the best forensic biologists in the field. She's the reason the Montana raid succeeded. I feel the stares, the whispers growing around us. My heart pounds, and I force myself to stay calm. I need to stay in control, but it's impossible when they're all looking at me like I'm a stranger. Mom's voice breaks through again, shaky but still trying to hold on to her version of things. But you always said, she trails off, her words dying on the air. I'm done letting her define me. I'm done letting her lie about who I am. I step forward, meeting her eyes, trying to keep my voice steady. I never caught stray cats, Mom. The words come out sharper than I intend, but they need to be said. I dismantle black market poaching rings. I work with the feds to stop wildlife trafficking. The room goes even quieter. People are still staring, and I know they're all trying to piece together what just happened. But I can't care about that. Not anymore. Not when it feels like the weight of everything I've hidden from them is finally breaking free. Mom doesn't say anything. She just stares at me, her face ashen, her mouth hanging open like she's waiting for me to take it all back. But I won't. I'm done with the secrets. Done with being invisible in their eyes. Thorne's looking at me now, his face a little more serious. He must sense the shift in the room, but he doesn't care. He's here for business, and he's not going to let anything stop that. Well, he says, giving me a brief nod, we've got a flight to catch. DC is waiting. And just like that, The weight of everything, all the years of being the family joke, the invisible one, comes crashing down on me. But in that moment, I realize I don't need them to see me any differently. I just need to do my job. Thorn doesn't seem to notice the stunned silence hanging in the air. He's too busy talking, his voice smooth like he's explaining the weather. Whit's been in field operations for years, he says, as if this is something he discusses every day. She coordinates internationally, works with federal agencies, has the clearance to handle high-stakes operations. She's one of the best forensic biologists in the field. I feel everyone's eyes on me. My sister Amanda stares at me like she's seeing a ghost, her lips parted, blinking like she can't process what she's just heard. Her expression is a mix of disbelief and confusion, like she's been handed a puzzle and doesn't know where to start. Mom, on the other hand, is ghost white. Her hand shakes slightly as she grips the edge of her glass, her mouth moving but no words coming out. I can almost see the gears turning in her head, struggling to reconcile the reality of what she's hearing with the version of me she's been telling everyone for years. It's all a bit of an exaggeration, she finally sputters, her voice thin, like she's trying to make the truth fit into the tiny box she's built for me. Whit's always been, Thorn interrupts her, oblivious to the tension building. No exaggeration. Whit saved the Montana witness, got him into protective custody. She's the reason the sting went through. Without her work, the whole operation could have fallen apart. Rachel's dad, who's been standing back a little, clearly processing this new information, suddenly leans forward. His interest is genuine, maybe even impressed. Tri-State Task Force, he murmurs, nodding slowly. That's the big one, isn't it? I've heard about the busts. He's already picking up on details, asking questions like he knows exactly what it takes to run a task force of that scale. His eyes shift between me and Thorn, and I can tell he's putting it all together. This is a man who knows the weight of what Thorn's just described. It's clear he knows the reputation, the stakes, but my mom can't let it go. Her voice is rising now, louder than it should be for the intimate setting. But pest control, she repeats, like she's trying to make me fit back into the neat little story she's crafted. Wildlife management. That's what you do, isn't it, Whit? You've always... I can't take it anymore. My skin is prickling. My chest tight with the urge to finally say what's been eating at me for years. All of them. My mother, my sister, Rachel's dad, even Jordan. They're staring at me like they've just discovered I've been living a lie. And in a way, I have. But it wasn't my lie to begin with. I step forward, cutting through the murmur of conversation with a sharp breath. My voice is steady but firm. I never caught stray cats, Mom. The words taste bitter, but I don't flinch. I dismantle black market poaching rings. I stop international wildlife trafficking. I work with federal agencies to track and break up criminal networks that exploit endangered species. The words hang in the air, sharp and raw. And for a moment, it feels like the entire world has stopped spinning. My mother's eyes widen, and her face is a blank canvas, like she doesn't even recognize me. My sister's mouth snaps shut, and I watch her eyes flick between me and Thorn, like she's piecing together a version of me she never knew existed. Rachel's dad is nodding now, his face more serious than I've ever seen it. He's listening, really listening. And the shift is almost tangible. The respect in his eyes, the way he's looking at me now. It's like he's seeing me for the first time, and I wonder how long it's been since anyone truly saw me at all. Thorn clears his throat, giving me a reassuring look, like he's been through this kind of thing before. Whit's work is classified, but she's been part of some of the biggest wildlife busts in the world. Poaching rings, trafficking syndicates, she's seen it all, and she's damn good at it. I nod, not caring about the silence stretching out between us. I don't care about the way Mom's still staring at me, her face pale, her mind racing to explain it all away. I don't care anymore. Amanda's voice breaks through the quiet, but it's not the usual teasing tone I'm used to. It's softer now, more hesitant. Why didn't you ever tell us, Whit? I take a breath, trying to steady myself. I've spent so long hiding in plain sight, letting them think I was just some small-town girl, and it feels like a lifetime of silence is shattering in this one moment. I tried, I say, the words coming out slow. But every time I tried to explain, no one wanted to hear it. I glance at Mom, whose mouth is still hanging open. You always had your version of me. It was easier for you to believe that than the truth. The truth? It's a word that's been buried under so many layers of lies, misunderstandings, and half truths that I almost forgot what it felt like to speak it aloud. But here I am, finally letting it out. Jordan looks between me and Thorn, his eyes wide, unsure of how to respond. He's not used to seeing me like this. Not used to seeing me at all, really. But there's a glimmer of pride in his eyes, mixed with disbelief. Rachel turns to him, her face full of wonder. Your sister? Her voice trails off, and I can see the respect settling in, slowly. She's starting to understand, too. I glance around at all their faces, each one full of surprise, confusion, and maybe even a little awe. But I don't need them to understand everything. I just need them to stop pretending. I need them to see me for what I am, not what they've always believed. Thorn steps forward again, a gentle reminder that the mission isn't over. The plane's on standby, Whit, he says, his voice low and steady. I nod, already feeling the weight of what's next. The work doesn't stop for family. It never has. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I've finally been seen. The room is frozen. People are whispering, glancing at me, at my mom, back at me again. The murmur of conversations has turned into a quiet hum, like the whole reception's holding its breath, waiting for the next shoe to drop. I feel their eyes on me, hot and curious, like I'm some kind of alien they're trying to figure out. I can almost hear the questions swirling in the air. What's going on with Whit? Why didn't we know this? Amanda leans in, her voice a low whisper, just loud enough for me to hear. Why didn't you ever say anything? I glance at her, her face a mix of confusion and disbelief. This isn't how I imagined this would go down, but here we are. I tried, I say, the words coming out heavier than I expected. Nobody ever really wanted to hear it. She pulls back, looking at me like I've just confessed to some hidden life she never knew existed. It stings, even though I'm the one who's been hiding. I glance over at my dad, who looks completely out of his depth, like he's been hit with a wave and doesn't know how to swim. His face is pale, and he's staring at me like I've suddenly become a stranger. The man who used to tell me everything would be fine, the one who brushed off my weird government stuff with a chuckle, is now a ghost in this room. He can't figure out what to say. Jordan's eyes flick back and forth between me and Thorn, half proud and half stunned. He doesn't know how to process this either. I can see it in his face, the recognition of the truth, mixed with an odd sense of admiration, like he didn't know what he'd been missing. But he's still my little brother, and I don't expect him to understand. I sigh, taking a step forward, trying to explain in the simplest terms I can without drowning them in the details. I'm part of a classified task force, I say, my voice steady but raw. My job's to help track and break up illegal wildlife trafficking networks, not just in the US, but internationally. We work with other agencies, sometimes on the highest level busts. I glance at my mom, whose eyes are still wide with disbelief. It's always been confidential, Mom. I couldn't talk about it. The words hang there, heavy and solid like a brick dropped into a quiet pond. Mom mutters something under her breath, her voice barely audible, but I hear it clear as day. I don't understand why you couldn't have just said you had a good job. Her words hit like a slap, a reminder that she's still thinking in terms of the life she wanted for me, the life where I'd settle into something safe and simple, something she could brag about. But that's not me. It never has been. I take a slow breath, trying to keep myself from getting swallowed by the frustration rising in my chest. It's not just about having a good job, Mom. It's about keeping things safe. If I told you everything, it wouldn't be safe anymore. I look around the room, meeting eyes with Rachel's dad, who's still watching me closely, like he's finally starting to connect the dots. And for the record, I add, my voice quiet but firm, it's not about impressing anyone. It's about doing what needs to be done, protecting people, protecting animals, doing the hard work that nobody wants to hear about. I turn back to my family. They're all still looking at me, trying to process. Amanda's lips are tight, and she's glancing at Mom like she doesn't know what to believe anymore. Dad hasn't said a word, but I can see the weight of the silence in his eyes. It's like I'm a stranger to him now, and the thought almost hurts more than anything else. Jordan's still staring at me, his eyes wide, but now there's something more, a flicker of something I've never seen from him before. Maybe pride, or maybe just the realization that I'm not the person he thought I was. It doesn't matter. I don't need them to understand me. I don't need them to get why I've kept quiet all these years. Rachel walks up beside Jordan, slipping her hand into his, and her gaze shifts to me. Why didn't you tell us, Wit? She asks, her voice gentle but full of curiosity. I look at her, my heart heavy with everything I've kept inside. OPSEC, I say simply. Operational security. And no one ever asked. Her eyes soften, but she doesn't press. She knows better. I glance at Mom again, who's still pale, still processing. She hasn't said anything more since her muttered comment, but I can see it in her face. The discomfort, the disappointment, the part of her that still wants me to fit into a world that never made sense for me. But I'm done trying to fit into their idea of who I should be. The quiet is thick, suffocating. I feel the weight of all their questions, their judgment, but I don't let it crush me. I don't need them to understand. I just need them to see the truth. I glance over at Thorne, who's standing quietly at the edge of the conversation, letting us sort this out. He gives me a small nod, his presence a reminder that the work never stops. I take a breath, ready to move forward, ready to leave this moment behind. The plane's waiting, I say, my voice calm again. I've got a job to do. And with that, I step away from the silence, from their expectations, and toward what's always been mine to carry, the truth. Jordan pulls me aside, his face a mix of disbelief and something else. Maybe pride, maybe confusion, maybe both. He looks at me for a long second, his brow furrowed. You're seriously the reason those wildlife busts happen. I nod, no point in sugarcoating it. And we've got to debrief a guy who's linked to a cartel-backed poaching network. His eyes widen. I can see the gears turning in his head, processing the weight of what I've just said. He's still trying to place me in this new version of reality, where his sister isn't the weird one who drives around in a county truck catching squirrels. Rachel steps in beside him, her expression full of genuine curiosity, but also something else, maybe admiration. She's not looking at me like I'm some kind of family oddity anymore. She looks at me like I'm a person, someone worth knowing. Why didn't you ever tell us? She asks, her voice soft but persistent. I shrug. It's not as simple as giving an answer. I've been carrying this secret for so long. It feels strange to even talk about it. OPSEC, I say, the term sliding off my tongue without thought. And no one asked. Rachel looks between me and Jordan, clearly taking in the weight of what I've said. Her eyes flicker with something I don't quite recognize. Maybe respect, maybe awe. It's a small thing, but it feels like a shift. Meanwhile, Mom's still standing in the background, trying to gather herself after everything that's just come out. I can see the defensive posture in her, that instinct to save face kicking in. Her lips press together, and she clears her throat like she's going to step in and smooth things over, but she doesn't. Not really. Her gaze flicks nervously between Rachel and me, but it's not enough to mask the shift happening in the room. The people who used to look at her with respect now glance at her sideways. Rachel's parents, who were smiling at her just a few moments ago, now exchange quiet, knowing glances. Their side eye is obvious, and for the first time, I see something like doubt creeping into their faces. For the first time, she's not the one holding the conversation together. For once, it's me. Rachel turns to Jordan, her eyes wide as she finally processes the magnitude of what's just come to light. Your sister has a federal badge? Well, she asks, the words tinged with disbelief. Jordan looks at me, and there's something different in his expression. He nods slowly, like he's seeing me for the first time. And a PhD, apparently. I want to laugh, but I don't. It's not funny, not really. But I can't help feeling a little lighter, like maybe the weight of all those years of being invisible is finally starting to lift. Thorne appears again, stepping into the conversation like he's always been part of it. His voice is a welcome interruption. The plane's on standby, he says, his tone businesslike but not unkind. It's time. I nod, already feeling the pull of the mission. This moment with my family is slipping away, and I'm not sure if I'm relieved or disappointed. I look back at them, at Mom, still fumbling for words, at Amanda, who's gone quiet, at Jordan, who looks like he wants to ask 100 more questions but isn't sure if he should. Look, I say, my voice steady, I don't expect you all to understand. It's not something I've talked about because I couldn't, but I'm doing important work, and I'm damn good at it. I see a flicker of something in Rachel's eyes, a kind of respect I've never seen before. She doesn't say anything, but she doesn't need to. I don't need their approval, I never did. I take one last glance at my mom, and this time, I don't feel the anger or frustration that used to rise when I looked at her. I just feel tired. I've been carrying her expectations, their misunderstanding, for so long, and now I'm just done. Take care of each other, I say quietly, turning toward the door. I don't look back. I don't have to. The cool air outside hits me like a wave, and I step into the car waiting for me. I slide into the back seat, Thorne already inside, his briefcase at his feet. The driver doesn't say anything as we pull away from the vineyard, but I can feel the city waiting for me in the distance. The mission's not over. It never is. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of the night, the weight of the truth, slip away as we drive toward what's next. It's time to get back to work. I grab my go bag from the coat check, the familiar weight of it on my shoulder almost comforting. The straps feel too tight, and I pull them a little looser as I walk toward the door, my steps automatic, focused. I'm already halfway out of here. As I pass through the main room, I feel the weight of eyes on me, but this time it's different. There's no curiosity, no judgment, just quiet respect. People nod as I walk by, some of them even giving me a small smile, as if the truth I'd kept hidden for so long is something they can finally see. It's not the kind of acknowledgement I expected, but it's all I'm getting. Then Amanda steps in front of me, her hand lightly touching my arm. She looks at me like she's still piecing things together, and there's a soft sadness in her eyes, the kind that comes from realizing you don't know someone you thought you did. I don't think I ever really saw you, Whit, she says, her voice quieter than I've ever heard it. I swallow the lump in my throat, not sure what to say. I've always been the background person in this family, the one no one really bothered to get to know. So this is new. I give her a small, sad smile. Not many did, I say. I don't mean to sound so bitter, but it comes out that way. It's the truth, and I'm done pretending otherwise. It's okay. Amanda opens her mouth like she's going to say something else, but she doesn't. She just looks at me, like she wants to ask 100 questions, but doesn't know how. And in a way, it's a relief that she doesn't press me further. I keep moving, my eyes scanning the room for one last look. I catch sight of my mom sitting stiffly at a table near the back, her hands folded in front of her. Her wine glass is untouched, and she's staring down at it like it holds all the answers. She doesn't look up as I walk past. I stop for a moment, the urge to say something to her stronger than I thought. I lean down slowly, my face close to hers. Her eyes flicker up at me, but there's no warmth there, just that same cold confusion I've seen in her for years. I protected things you'll never know about, I say, my voice quiet, just for her. I can't help the bitterness that creeps in at the end. You don't have to understand. But maybe now you'll stop lying about it. I stand there for a beat longer than I should, waiting for her to say something, anything, but she doesn't. Her eyes drop back to her glass, and I turn away. Outside, the agent driver is waiting by the car, standing at attention with the door open. He doesn't say anything, just waits for me to get in. I nod, giving him a silent acknowledgement, and climb into the back seat. The door shuts behind me with a soft thud, and the car pulls away from the vineyard. The lights of the reception fade in the rearview mirror, and I lean back against the cool leather of the seat, feeling the tension start to drain from my body. I can't help but think about what I'm leaving behind. The family I've always been a part of, but never really belonged to. They don't get me, and maybe they never will, but that's okay now. I've stopped needing their approval. The road ahead is dark, the streetlights flashing by in a blur, and I close my eyes for a second, letting the quiet of the car settle in. The mission is waiting, always waiting. And for once, I don't feel the weight of my family's expectations on my shoulders. It's just me, the work, and the road ahead. And that's enough. The SUV zips through back roads, the tires kicking up the occasional cloud of dust in the darkness. The low hum of the engine is the only sound in the car, aside from the quiet tap of my fingers on the secure tablet in my lap. I swipe through the briefing files, scanning the details. The witness is stable for now, but nervous. This whole operation is delicate, and I'll be on a plane by midnight, heading to a place that's become all too familiar. I let my thoughts drift for a moment, the weight of the day pressing in. I picture Jordan and Rachel dancing, their faces lit up by the soft glow of the reception lights. It's surreal, thinking about how their wedding day will become a part of family lore, how they'll tell the story of how they tied the knot while their crazy sister disappeared into the night on some covert mission. For years, I let their ignorance define how I saw myself. I let them label me, tuck me into their neat little boxes where I was nothing more than the girl who worked with dogs. It was easier to let them think that than to try and explain what I really did. But tonight, something's different. I don't need them to understand everything anymore. I don't need them to see me the way I see myself. I've spent too much of my life hiding in the background, letting their assumptions shape my worth. Not anymore. I'm done with that. I shift in my seat, focusing back on the task at hand. I scroll through more details on the witness, mentally rehearsing the steps I'll take once I land. Every second counts when you're dealing with this kind of operation. The cartel's influence stretches far, and if we don't handle this right, everything could fall apart. The compound lights come into view in the distance, rising up like tiny stars in the night. A sharp turn, and then I'm pulling up to the gates. The security detail's already waiting. It's time to work.